Howdy ho, everybody. Welcome to episode number 16 of Improve with Apollo. It's a beautiful sunny day, a spring day here in Sweden. As you can see, the sun is shining through into my room. For the first time, I think this week or next week, we're actually going to be having weather up into 5 degrees, 6 degrees, 7 degrees, and progressively getting warmer now. So hopefully the winter has been and gone, and it's all sunshine and glory from here on out here in Sweden. So I hope you've all been keeping very well these last few days. But now it's time to get back to serious business. It's time to improve with me once again in episode number 16 here, where we're going to be going ahead and helping Zerg play, keeping that rotation fluid with Zerg, Protoss, Terran, I think. Well, Zerg, Terran, Protoss. Anyway, it's Zerg time today. And we're going to be jumping into Master League level. So a lot of you watching this series and this video may not be at Master League level, but there's definitely going to be small things, small concepts that you can pick up on today. And for you players that are Diamond League, Master League level, that are looking to improve your Zerg, today's the day where I'm going to try and help you out as best as I can. So let's go ahead and meet the guy that I'm trying to help out here. His name is Frankie. He's 15 years old from Ireland. Hello, partner, neighbor. How are you doing? And as you can see, he's a Master League Zerg player. Description on how I can help him. Hey, Apollo, I'm a low Master Zerg from Belfast, Ireland. Since the release of Heart of the Swarm, I had a lot of problems with Terran. And yes, one of the reasons I'm having trouble with Terran is because of the Widow Mine. Even if the Terran player doesn't bring Widow Mines with him, I get really afraid to counterattack him in case he has some mines hidden that I will end up running my whole Zergling force into. Well, thanks, Frankie, for sending your email in. First things first, I don't think that Widow Mines were a big problem in today's replay, which we'll get into shortly, so I just want to talk about it very briefly now. Widow Mines, yes, they're a pain for a lot of Zerg players that play Zergling heavy, but with the recent addition and knowledge of how Widow Mines work and send your Lings behind the Marine army so that Widow Mines get dragged with them and detonate onto the Marines, and then of course just simple things that we've been seeing a lot of development with pro players is sending 2 to 4 Lings in front of your army and then the whole force behind it. They'll clear out the Widow Mines and then your main force can come in and do the rest. I'll see if I can find some examples in your replay once we get into it in a couple of moments time here. So going back into your email, now in this game he went command center first and he built a really early third. I did scout this, but I didn't know how to react. This is something I'm going to really pick up on. So this is, one big point we're going to be talking about in this episode here. I know I should have taken earlier fourth, and I know I missed a few lava injects here and there, but I don't think that was the main reason why I lost this game. Thanks, and of course, in-game name, Voids. All right, Voids, or Frankie. I think I'm going to call you Frankie for today's episode. I'm going to help you out. I'm actually very confident in doing so today. I've looked through your entire replay. I, of course, have been playing a lot of Zerg recently. For a lot of you, actually, have asked questions on Twitter or YouTube channel comments, is that when I play StarCraft 2, what I've been doing recently is 50 games Zerg, 50 games Protoss, 50 games Terran, and just kind of keep that rotation through. Instead of when I used to play random a lot more, I think this is a lot harder practice, and it's because I think you get into rhythm a bit more, you get into patterns a bit more, and you see development a lot easier, and I think it's been helping my progress out a lot. So any other players that play multiple races, definitely recommend that. But I've been playing a lot of Zerg, basically is the point here, as of recent, so I'm quite confident I can help you out here. So let's go ahead, Frankie, and jump into your replay to see where things went wrong, or where things started to go wrong. So this is the replay I've loaded up. The one that you've sent in, and to be honest, in the early stages of this game, I'm going to set it to ×4. I want to display what happened and what has happened to everyone that's watching, but in general, there wasn't really that many mistakes made in the early stage. The first kind of thing that comes up is around the 6-minute mark, but I want to show everyone what you did in this game, just for the sake of getting on the same line as what we and you are on. So hatchery first is just standard against Terran. Of course, all Zerg players should know this by now. And Overlord pathways are good. One thing I could bring up is that you didn't drone scout, which can be a little bit scary sometimes. But it's not a major thing to deal with. It's personal preference. Are you comfortable defending against potential 2 racks? Are you not? And so on and so on. You do see command center first. This doesn't really change much, to be honest. Command center first just basically means that you're not going to be facing any Reapers early on, so you don't need to worry about dealing with Reapers early on. Um, and there's not going to be any fast Hellions or anything, so you're fine to just go away. And as you realize, I think you're a little bit slow in sending this Overlord out, because obviously you realize that you went Command Center first quite a while back. But sending this Overlord towards his back, get into good position as early as you can is best. 2 queens, and you did actually go for a 4-queen build, which I'll show everyone. And then get your gases after that. So 2 queens built, you lava inject, you send the... To be honest, I actually like to keep my queen here. This is something you didn't do, Frankie, so I guess I could talk about it. You send both your 2 queens to the front door. I personally like to keep this queen here, creep spread once, and then come down and join the other queen. So lava inject and then go to the edge of creep with both queens, and then just have 1 creep tumor from both extending out, and then join forces together afterwards. But behind that, you do have the third and fourth, queen building, as well as your gas has been taken on natural, which is fine, absolutely fine. So good opening. And now I'm just going to fast forward it until, because you don't need to build Zerglings at all here. You know he's gone Command Center first. Threat of Hellions is a long way away. As you can even see in the production tab, if you just look for reference now, if a Command Center first build comes down, this is how late the barracks factory is going to be. You don't need Lings anytime soon. You don't need them until, I don't know, roughly 7:30, 8 minutes or along there. We'll check it up in this replay very shortly here. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about, which I have in my notes, is your scouting, which is something that you pointed out in the email. So you've seen Command Center first on the natural, and now you've seen third Command Center. You said in the email you don't know how to react from this. It's actually rather easy to react, because seeing the third Command Center makes it easier for you to react, because all you really need to focus on is your economy now, because you know that he can't do anything. So if we look in the game again here, with the third Command Center coming down, if you don't look at the production tab and cheat, what does it mean? What does this mean? Because what it means is now a correct response. This is something we talked about in a previous episode. When you're displayed an option, you have options yourself to now choose from. And when I see this third Command Center, the first thing that goes through my mind as a Zerg player is that this is a greedy 3 Command Center build, probably double upgrades, whether it be engineering bays or armories. I don't know if he wants to play mech or bio, but that's something we can continue to scout. But the options of aggression are very, very, very small. He's looking at minimal units now, because when it comes down to when I was focusing on the Command Center, and I realize it's probably better if I talk to you like this, is that when you have a third Command Center coming down, the usual follow-up is double engineering bay or double armory. So now if you think about his build, Command Center first, into barracks and then factory for Hellions, third Command Center, double upgrades, whether it be engineering bays or armories, then production, So that's actually a long way away from being able to be aggressive with you. For example, if there wasn't a third Command Center coming down, you'd most likely see something like Command Center first, factory ready for the Hellions, production. And then that's when you're like, all right, well, I need to find out what's going on so I can react and build an army ready to deal with that production that's going to be an army. But in this case, with a third Command Center come down, probably follow up double engineering bay, double armory, then production, you don't have to worry about any units. The only units not any units, but the only units you really need to think about is probably the 4 scaling up to 8, depending on how much he wants to build Hellions. And that's it. And that's like, 20 Lings and 2 Queens that you already have out there, and the rest is drones. So if we jump into your game now, upon seeing this and now actually looking, you actually scouted out very shortly, but I'll show you anyway. Double engineering bay comes down, late production coming on, as in no production yet. The first barracks will build stim. This is basically Flash's build. I think I coached a Terran player not so long ago in one of my episodes, Improve with Apollo episode 12 or 13, I think, or 14. Recently, and we talked about this very build here, where you get stim next from the Terran player, and then very shortly, once his minerals come up, as you see, barracks come down. So in terms of what he can do is only Hellions, right? So if we come back to your vision, what you're doing right now, your drone counts at 36 is fine. You got speed on the way. You don't really need too many speedlings or Zerglings out before speed is done, and you just want to focus on getting up to 50 drones pretty fast here. 50 drones, by the way, is 2 base saturation, minerals and gas. You may want to build a couple of Lings just with your queens, maybe a spine, depending on if you feeling threatened at all by the potential Hellions that are coming in. Your third base timing, by the way, at 6 minutes was fine. And then we're actually just getting your first couple of lings in. So 8 lings coming in is good safety and with 2 queens, because obviously he's going to have maybe 2 to 4 hellions. 8 lings and 2 queens is fine. And then you want to drone back up again, which you do. You take the gases at the time you should be. It's perfectly fine. You're at 41 drones, going up to 49. And then when you're at 49 is basically the 50 mark I just talked about, where you're saturated on 2 bases. Therefore, you want to build a few more lings, ready to deal with, I don't know, maybe 20 lings extra, 28 total, deal with any hellions, and then nothing but drones to 75, which is an extra 25. So if you look at it in 25 drones, 50, 25 drones, 75. Now you have 3 base saturation. One thing that I have written down as well is as this hatchery finishes up here, and you actually, as I'll go into that in a second, you have now seen what I showed before, and you now see the production coming in as well. So you know that he's very, very late in terms of coming out with an army anytime soon. Just hellions, maybe widow mines, and you even see hellions on the map now too. This third base, as I just mentioned, should always be having a queen built from it, and you want to maintain 2 queens creep spreading at all times. Queen gets built from this one. And then as you see these hellions come in, I guess you build your next set of lings is the actual response here. 2 overlords, 5 overlords. Bailey Nest is good, timed. Layers, timed okay. And where are your lings? 16 lings. Okay. So you build 16 lings here because the threat of hellions is increasing. He's at 4 at the moment and he could be building more. You don't know that though, so you have to build these lings. You build 2 drones. And this, you start on the right pathway here, Frankie. But then you stop building drones. Ideally, with your 3rd up and with a queen over here, in an ideal world, you want to be building to 75 drones. You've talked about his build, or we've talked about his build, 3 command centers, double engineering bay, yada, 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 late production. Go, go, drones. Go, 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 go. So you build 16 links, which is good, and then this is your first big mistake in the game. We talked about your small, game reading maybe, small little differences maybe, but this is the biggest point where I paused the replay before I recorded this and said, okay, there's a mistake. 24 links, that's your mistake. That should have been drones, because now what happens is you overbuild lings. Do you need 24 lings to deal with this? I don't know if you forgot about the lings you'd built here. I'm not too sure, but whatever the case, with 2 queens and 14 lings here, these hellions are nothing to you. Nothing. And 24 is over way too many. And it should have been drones. You should have been droning towards here, getting ready to take the gases, increasing your economy, getting ready for that early 4th base, which you did state in the email was needed to do. This overlord, by the way, should be getting ready to creep spread. If you can deny and you can. If you can't, you can't. And that was the first big point in this game where I was like, mistake. Queen definitely, I think, is something. So you see his 3rd base come down, and now that you've built these lings, right? You've built these lings, which I feel were over defensive. You don't need them, but you've got a point now where you can salvage that and turn them into aggression against that early 3rd base you've just seen now come down. So this is where in the game, ideally, you want to now be using all these lings and trying to get an advantage from them. If they sit idle, they might as well have been drones, but you can salvage them to a certain extent, where let's say now that you get your drones in, which you are, you get your spy down, which is fine as well, all these lings, let's say if you can kill 10 SCVs, delay him from mining on his 3rd base, get a run by in, and do damage economically, it's not such a bad thing that you didn't have drones there. And this could be considered a good play. From let's imagine StarTale Live built 24 lings additionally there, and then I had to review his game and said, well, I don't know. I think you probably should have droned. And then he went off and killed, 15 SCVs and did all this stuff while the production's very low. If you look at what he has right now, is, 2 Widow Mines, 5 Marines, 4 Hellions, So if you'd gone in over here, you could have forced a lift off. Imagine if you'd researched borrow. You could have borrowed underneath. So you have the option to turn it into something good here, is what I'm trying to say. And then you didn't do anything, and you did keep them idle, which is where things turn a bit sour, and now they were just a waste of time. You get your 2-2 coming down, your 11 drones coming in. Of course, I mentioned should have been a bit earlier. You got your lings kind of not doing anything. Your 2-2 does come down good. You get the gases over here, and you pretty much want to be getting into these gases straight away. Because what's going to come down now, depending on how you play this out, whether you use Mutalisk, you want Banelings and Mutalisk, you want Infestation put down, gas, 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 gas. All gas. So you make a mistake here, and I'm just going to fast forward it from this point. You've just finished the extractors here, Frankie, and I'll just leave it fast forward. I actually just want to, you know, ignore everything right now and just focus on this. Look, 0303, 0303, 03, and I think this continues till the 15-minute mark. On all 6 gases, you get an average income of 700 gas a minute. If you divide that by 3, you're looking at, you know, like 230-ish, 230, 240, roughly on average. That's 240 gas per minute from these 2 extractors that you haven't had for 4 minutes and a half, because it was about 11 minutes, right? And now you're in at 15:30. Was it 11 or was I'm a little bit? Let's just check. Okay, it was 11. So 4.5 minutes of 230. Math on camera, not very good at it. Gonna be a noob and load up this 230 times 4.5, 400 minutes. You basically lost 1,000 gas. I had to get up a calculator there because I'm kind of bad. So you've lost 1,000 gas, roughly, because of that. So that's actually kind of big. 1,000 gas. That's 10 more Mutalisks, 1 million more Banelings. So just on top of that. Jumping into the next part here. So now you decided, as the Spire finished, actually just want to rewind it, just want to make sure this is clean and you can see how this developed. We talked about the Spire on the way. You got the Spire building. I'm not sure. I say I'm not sure, but I think I am sure, so that was a lie. Is that this was a reactionary play. This wasn't a part of the plan to morph all these Banelings, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right here. You come down and you're like, you know what? I don't really know what to do. This is nearly third. You've already told me in the email that you don't know how to react to this, and I think this is just like, you know, screw it. Build a bunch of Lings, build a bunch of Banelings. We're going to try and crash this down. I think that's what your plan, non-plan was here. And now you just, you know, kind of destroyed the use of the Spire. What's the Spire for now when you have 65 gas? You get it? So, not a part of the plan. Then I think this came... Oh, well, the Spire was a part of the plan. This wasn't. And now you've kind of gone... I don't want to say the word tilt. I'm looking off balance is probably the better. You've kind of thrown yourself off balance now. And this is where it starts to become a bit of a guessing game, a reaction game, and you've gone off track. And in StarCraft 2, a lot of the times when you play, you always have, you know, I'm doing this at this time, I'm doing this at this time, I'm doing this at this time. For example, your opening build, you know you're getting 4 queens, you know you're getting the double extractor, you know you're taking a third, you know you're going to build a couple of Lings to feel safe with those 2 queens, you're going to get Speedlings, you're going to get 1-1, you're then going to get Leia and a Baneling Nest, you're then going to get 2-2, and, you know, then you're going to get your Spire, then you're going to build your Mutalisk, then you're going to attack, and you're going to harass, and, you know, that's how your game plan is. And at this point in the game here, I think now that balance is gone, you've lost your game plan because you've started to react. Reacting is not a bad thing, but it's thrown you off balance a little bit. And without proper experience to play off balance, then things start to crumble. And, you know, we talked about building Lings instead of drones. Now this comes in, and then all of a sudden, you're off balance, and you're like, oh, God, he's coming. Oh, God. Oh, I was over. Oh, I'm out of position. And then you just leave. And I'm like, and I literally said, I was like, no. And then I was like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. He sent a couple of Lings back. You know, 6 Lings, not a lot. Maybe a couple of SCV kills. And then all of a sudden you fell victim to everything in a control group. And the Lings left as well. And now everything went home. And this is very open. Very open to getting blown up. Very open. But you got to pull back. This is a decision that could have been better, because if you think about the amount of army supply you have, actually it's not even that big, but I guess it's the amount of Banelings you have, and I guess a lot of his army supply is at home. If you'd split this in 50-50, right, and you'd come back and killed this on creep, sent the other half to blow up all these SCVs, you'd be in the best position. But I think you made the wrong decision. I know you made the wrong decision to come back to kill it all off, and then allow him to freely mine. And you do kill all this very easily. very easily indeed. So now that you've killed this, just pointing out the fact that you're still not in gas, you launch your counterattack, which is fine to do so. So I'm just kind of analyzing your moves as they go on. And counterattacking is fine. You've just killed off a big chunk of his army. This is fine to do so. And, you know, your main focus should be clearing out this and going straight to his third, which you do shortly. And from this position, you even kill the third. And this is a point where, you know, Burrow would have been useful again. It's something that you haven't built at all throughout this game and something that is useful to do. It delays him a lot. You can Burrow Ling on his fourth as well. But from this point, I still think this is an almost unlosable situation. And I want to try and explain why and, you know, why it's unlosable. His view, right? He's on 2 bases. He's got 51 SCVs. He's almost mined out in his main. He does not have that many resources anymore. 190. He has to rebuild his 3rd command center. The only thing you need to do... Okay, so not you need to do. The 2 things that he has as an option right now is build an army, try to take a 3rd. Build an army, attack Q. 2 options. I don't want to swear at you. I need to turn this around. Build an army and take a 3rd. Build an army, attack Q. Which means you build an army and kill him. Because whatever happens, he doesn't have a lot of money. If you look at the income tab, you know, it's 2,000. This should be at 720, by the way, you gas, but because you're not in gas. So you've doubled his income. You just swarm him. Look at your resources. 1,600 to 900. Just build Lings and Bailings and the game is over. You've just given a deadly blow. It's a game-winning blow, in my opinion here. Even without taking a 4th base, which is very late in this game. And, you know, even without it, you can win very easily, I feel. You do not have a macro hatch, which is a bit of a problem. Oh, no, you do. Sorry. Excuse me. Okay, sorry. But you're in an amazing position here. And the problem, in terms of decision-making, is I feel that you get comfortable now, Frankie. And you're like, all right, well, you know, I'm potentially in the lead again here. And I agree. And then I think you go back to your beginning plan. Mutalisks. Which is the incorrect decision to make. Mutalisks are harassment units. They are medevac killers. They are not fighting units against 2/2 Marines with 0... Oh, you got +1 attack. But because of the lack of gas you've got, you can only build a certain amount. And it would much more... It would be much more efficient for you to get Bailings instead of that. I think if I've said this now and you're looking at it from your vision now, Frankie, I think you'd agree with me too that Bailings would have been the better option just to keep crashing through. You know, taking a 4th base and a 5th base at the same time is good, considering you didn't take a 4th early. And you do finally just about getting your gases. But yeah, that's what I would have done if I was you in this position. Mulus wasn't the right thing. If, for example, down here you did not morph those Banelings and you just counterattacked, and at that point you built your Mutalisks, it makes a lot more sense. But this was another a blunder, I feel, because what ends up happening is from this point of the game, you're 400 resource difference in Lost. But if I was to scale this all the way, I'm going to remember 50 minutes. Let's just go to the end of the game and then look at it. It ends up scaling to something incredible like 7,000. 700 to 7,000 in 10 minutes. And the reason for that was simply because Mutalisks are not cost efficient. Ling, Muta, Baneling is not as cost efficient as Ling, Baneling alone, or 14 minutes trying to get to 15, or just Infestors and straight up to Ultralists. That's what I'm feeling from this. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit now to when these Mutalisks are built, because I did fast forward and then rewind a little bit, but going to the 15-minute mark. So the biggest thing is a little bit of decision making here, not reading the game properly, and then just making a couple of fundamental mistakes. Because what ends up happening now in this game, to be honest, like I said, you were in a good position to win the game, but upon building Mulish, you've now thrown that advantage away, I believe, because they do nothing. You can't harass. He's, you know, building turrets now. Maybe you could have gone in there a little bit earlier. You need to kind of keep him in his base while expanding all the time, because what will happen is he'll get comfortable, he'll retake his 3rd, and then he'll push out, and then you have to fight with Mutalisks instead of harassing with them. And as mentioned, they're not attacking units. They're more, you know, harassment, killing medivacs, momentum units. And what ends up happening here is, yes, he does move out because you've given him this freedom. Look, nothing he's doing, you're doing nothing, he's doing nothing. And eventually he's going to move out down this south side. And then what ends up happening is you just don't have a big enough force. You know, he's now at army supply 106. He's caught up. There was no pressure from you after killing his third to keep him down and bleeding. And now when you come into this attack, you just, you know, it's not the best engagement, but at the same time, 2-2 Marines here. The tanks detonate well into the Banelings. I'm not sure if he's got Widow Mines here. Have a quick look. Yeah, he's got one Widow Mine, which gets a lot of kills, I guess, maybe. None? No kills. It's not even borrowed. But at the end of the day, you know, Mulists have to run away from 2-2 Marines, 3-2 Marines, and now you've just lost the game, because now you'll lose this base, one of your bases you should have expanded to, and then he can now take a fourth and keep the momentum building. And it all comes down to that your decision making at that very point of building those Mulists at 14 minutes cost you this game more so than anything else here. This should have been you building the infestation pit and going a hive, keeping up pressure with Ling Baneling, taking a fourth, taking a fifth, and just heading towards Ultralisks. You've got 2-2 upgrades. Ultralisks are your friends, and the way that this game's gone out with you killing off this command center, I feel it was a better option for you to do. And through these things, you know, if we go back to the beginning of the game as well, around, what was it, the 8-minute mark, when you built, or 8:50 something, when you built those Lings as well, Frankie, I think that was another big point, was here. When you get your 16 Lings, and then you build, you know, more on top, 24 Lings here. This was another big turning point in this game. And throwing all these together lost you the game. You, in the email, you did, if we look at the email, just for a quick second here, in the email you described that, you know, Widow Mines was something that you're having problems with. Yes, they are difficult to deal with, I agree. But in this game more specifically, I feel like that wasn't the main problem here. It was the other things that I mentioned. And that's kind of it for me looking at your game here. That's kind of it for this episode. In terms of improvement on what you should do from here on out, is start to think more about what he has and what it means and what now you should do. Whenever you see someone play greedy like that, always look towards rushing towards 75 drones and just saturating your bases really fast. When you have the option of be aggressive, you know, try to split your forces, try to keep the pressure on. And like I said, at that very point when you killed his third, he was down to 2 bases. He has very, very much 2 options. Come and attack and kill you and probably die himself, or try to take a third base with minimal forces. Both results, both options, decisions you should take is build units and kill him, whether it be he coming to you or you going to him. And with your decision making and just kind of maybe understanding it from a different perspective here today, I think you're not going to be too long before you increase out of low masters and start to get towards mid masters here, Frankie. Because I don't think you were, you know, that bad in the game. It's just small little things that made the biggest differences in this game. So that's it done for today with this episode. So I hope you've enjoyed it, everyone, and all the Zerg players out there. Can thank Frankie for sending this replay. If you want to be a part of the show as well, make sure to send your email in at improvewithapollo@gmail.com. I'll be going through as many as I can. And guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel to keep the videos coming into your subscription box. And I'm going to be seeing you very shortly. So this has been Sean Apollo Clark signing off.